Hey everyone, it's Kristen. Um, Today we're talking about X-Men 109. They actually made this 100 pages because they have used some of the Christmas stories of the past, some that we've already talked about, all bundled up together in this one. Um, the cover is pretty interesting. Basically, it opens with the X-Men having a snowball fight, and the guy you see, that's the new Thunderbird, Neil. Um, Basically, they come across these group of middle school kids trying to hold their own against high school kids, so they join in. So, and it's funny because like there's one of the kids wearing a Spider-Man hat. So you have Colossus and Archangel against Iceman and Psylocke. So they're just like playing around, helping the kids out. Of course, they're using their powers, but they're trying to be subtle about it. Um, yeah. And you see this, like, basically kind of sexual tension between Betsy and Neil, the new Thunderbird. And, Angel's like, well, she can do what she wants. I don't own her, whatever. And then you have Rogue and Gambit, and Rogue, at this point, her powers are going crazy. Like, she just, like, manifests powers at random. And it's just a weird storyline that they did where they just randomly, like, she randomly has Wolverine's claws, and Cyclops' eye beams come out. Like, she can't control it at all. It's not even she touches someone, it's just whoever she's touched in the past, their powers just come out at random. So I don't know. And this was kind of interesting that they did this X-Men Circus thing. They've done that in the past. This is Nightcrawler and Circe. She's an alien. She was a member of Excalibur for a while. She basically, she and Nightcrawler had a thing, but he wants to be a priest. So he told her, hey, I can't be with you because really I want to go into the priesthood. And so, you know, they have Colossus, and he's facing the Blob, but then he like bursts out of it, and he thinks he sees his sister Ileana, but it's just a little girl that looks like her. Like I said, it's kind of weird that they have like this random panel in here about the circus. That's nothing to do with the story. They don't even say why or where this comes from. They don't even say. It's random. And Betsy and Archangel have a fight because he sees the way that she and Neil look at each other. And then this is where Viper mentions that Wolverine married her. Um, she blackmailed him into marrying her. They get a divorce, but just like I said, soap opera. It's funny. And the main storyline that goes on in this is they're talking about Destiny's Diaries. So there's 13, and in it because she can see the future, and that caused her to actually go physically blind. But through these diaries, the X-Men hope to be able to learn the future and try to change it. So anyway, and here they all are gathered around the Christmas tree, and Beast and Trish, they're still together, in this. Are taking a moment to themselves, and then Rogue doesn't want Gambit to come on the expedition to find the diaries because, she wants to keep them safe and she can't predict her powers and stuff. And she's like, Remy, after what you said to me, to give me something so beautiful, but we have no idea what she's holding. She's just holding a box. It just never tells us. And Professor Xavier gives Bishop A Tale of Two Cities, says, and meant a lot to him. And then Psylocke gave Neil some kind of, she says, a little something to remember me by. And someone says, can you show us what it is? And he's like, absolutely not. So it's obviously something like, and then Professor Xavier gives Storm a new uniform, or like a new uniform kind of based on her old uniform. And pretty much that's it. They don't really talk about like what's going on that much, or I mean, doesn't really have something that much to do with Christmas either. So they also throw in this issue, X-Men 98 and X-Men 143. And this issue, look, it has the same like Rockefeller Center, you know, in front of the tree, just like this one. So it's kind of a, like, this is a throwback. This one's a throwback to this one. I thought that's kind of cool that they mirrored the image. And basically this is just, you know, like Nightcrawler, Colossus, Cyclops, Jean Grey, Storm, Wolverine, Banshee. Basically the new X-Men from the Giant Size X-Men. And unfortunately, you know, the Sentinels attack and they capture quite a few of them. And they're actually, yeah, they capture them because they are trying to, you know, well, basically this is a human-run program and they're trying to protect the human race from mutants, basically. You know, it says, this guy's like, if you, mutant kind are the enemy, I'm to find a way to destroy you. And she's like, Jean says, why start with the X-Men? He says, because the X-Men have been the most effective mutant opposition to the Sentinels, because you, Cyclops, and Xavier are the heart and soul of the X-Men. Cut out the heart and the body dies. Destroy the X-Men and the Sentinels are unbeatable. And, you know. So, anyway, basically, the thing is, like, they break their bonds, Jean, Wolverine, and Banshee, but what they don't realize, and they, you know, attack the Sentinels, and the rest of the X-Men are trying to figure out where they are, and also Professor Xavier, he's with his friend Dr. Corbeau in the middle of the ocean, like, fishing, you know, just taking a break, trying to, like, recoup from everything that's been going on. The X-Men try to do a lot of that. And they're trying to figure out where Xavier is because he didn't know about the newest Sentinel, so they're worried about him. They've been trying to get in contact with him. And then they find Dr. Corbeau, or he finds them, I should say, to tell them, hey, you know, we were attacked, Xavier's been captured and stuff. And so they're trying to find, you know, Jean and the others. And Dr. Corbeau realizes there's something the Sentinel says, that they're worried about solar flares, that, you know, they're not on Earth at all. That's why they can't find them. See? They escaped, but they're in space, so escaping did no good, basically. And then, and this also has X-Men 143. So basically, that, you know, X-Men 98, even though it was set during Christmas, it wasn't really Christmas. I mean, you know, just basically that first page was it. And then this says, guess what just came down the chimney? So it's this evil race, this entity, and I can never pronounce this, but that's what it is. I'm sorry, but yeah, I can never pronounce that right. So Storm encounters them, and she thinks, you know, she got rid of them, but they creep along, and basically they feed on people's body and soul. Like I said, Storm thought she got rid of them, but they came back to the mansion. And here you see Wolverine's, his love, Mariko, and you see, you know, Nightcrawler being goofy, and he's like, you know, gives her a kiss on the cheek with mistletoe, and Wolverine freaks out, like, hey, that's my girl. You know, he can be a little overly dramatic and stuff. And then this is, you know, Shadowcat, and of course she's always had this crush on Peter, and, you know, they eventually fall in love, and She's like, Merry Christmas, sexy, and he blushes. I mean, you know, I don't know how old Peter's supposed to be, but Kitty's like 13. So, and I think Peter's at least like 18 or something, so that's kind of a little weird, but you know, it's fiction. It's story. Like I said, they never say how old Peter is, but he seems like he's mature, at least like 18, 19, 20, something in there. So anyway, it's weird that they kind of, but they brought her on because they felt like, okay, the X-Men are no longer kids, so we need to inject like new blood into this. And I think that's kind of the same way that they did with Wolverine, so that, you know, younger people would have someone to like actively relate to. So everyone leaves the mansion for the night because they have like something they have to go do. Like their professor has, you know, a conference or something he has to go to. And Warren goes out with his girlfriend's Candy. So pretty much it's just Kitty alone in the house. If she, you know, she decides, well, I'm going to get a workout in the danger room. And then she hears the intruder alarm. And apparently those demons have come through Storm's attic. And there you go. And this is basically, the rest of it is just her like running away from the demons, like phasing through stuff. And as she phases, of course, the demon comes behind her and like crashes through everything and like wrecks everything. And here you can see like when she's phased, so it still hurts, but she, you know, she doesn't die. So and then she like lures the creature into the danger room, turns it on full blast, and basically manages to kill it. Luckily. And then basically they return home and they're late because there were like barricades and, you know, traffic, whatever. And so Kitty's on the couch, and then she realizes that, you know, everyone's back, and she's like, oh my gosh, I'm so glad you're back, you know. You won't ever believe what happened. And her parents come, you know, to surprise her for Hanukkah, and she's just like, you know, and Storm says, I've been upstairs to my attic, and Kitty's like, oh. And she's like, what precisely happened while we're gone? She's like, well, I was attacked by a big, ugly monster. And Storm's like, a monster? She's like, you'd have to see it to believe it. We fought. I got lucky. I won. But in the process, we kind of wrecked the danger room, and the Blackbird, and the hangar, and a lot of the house. And she's like, Storm's like, oh my. And Kitty's like, are you angry? And Storm says, I'm not quite sure, but from the sound of things, I'm fairly certain should feel terribly proud of you. And she's like, gee. And then it says, the last couple panels say, it had been the closest of close calls. She was too tired and too scared to phase when the demon reached for her. It could have killed her, had it got her hands on her, but it was dying on its feet, its unearthly form crumbling into dust with every step. It tried, it made a supreme effort, it failed. Alone on Christmas Eve, Kitty Pryde underwent a rite of passage, the supreme test of her abilities, her intellect, her courage, herself. She passed. So anyway, basically, so that I just went through really quickly 3 stories in one, because they weren't like Christmas stories like the other ones, so to speak, that I talked about. They weren't. I mean, of course, they were still important. I mean, you know, especially the one about the 143 Kitty, like her rite of passage, basically. That would, you know, but there wasn't like a lot of story to tell you. I mean, it basically, there were a lot of action sequences, which, you know, I showed you and I can't really describe that well. But anyway, I have actually one more, and then that's the last Christmas video, or last holiday video. But I hope you enjoyed this, and I hope you join me for my last one. Until next time, bye.